All right, now I'm going to talk about the overall effectiveness of the plan and kind of what I got out of it. The impact, the first few weeks, he did really well. And I think it was because we actually sat down and went over the expectations together, and he knew what was expected of him in the classroom and what he needed to change. The biggest thing he struggled on the first 3 or 4 weeks was homework. We had a hard time getting him to do his homework. And we talked about that, but for the most part, with observing the rules and listening and following directions, he did a great job. Then, halfway through, we kind of saw the behavior part start to slip. And so that was because I think he just got into a rut where he thought, okay, I can not listen to the rules again, or I can do this. Or those old habits just kind of started up again. And so we had a sit-down talk again halfway through my student teaching, and we kind of went over, okay, why are things changing? What's going on? And he really didn't seem to know. He was just like, I don't know why I'm doing this again. Like, all right, well, what can we do to change it? And from then on, it was kind of a back and forth, and it was because it was getting later in the quarter, and he was getting more comfortable, especially with me. And so we had a lot of our weekly talks centered around, why are we not listening again? What's different this time? And a lot of the times things would change, and a lot of the times Mom would get involved and things would get better, but they didn't change, like I wanted them to. He wasn't perfect at the end, which I didn't think he was going to be, and I know it's going to be a lot more work, but it was good to see the amount of change that happened, and it was good to see, change actually happen, and it would just have been great to have complete change and complete turnaround. But you learn about the classroom management. I learned a lot. I learned there is a huge benefit to letting kids be accountable for their own actions in the classroom. I learned that these meetings helped me develop a relationship with the student that I cannot even begin to describe. We had a good rapport with each other, and we got pretty close, and it was great being able to get close with the student. And then he wanted to please as that relationship grew. And so with this behavior management plan, I saw that even if the results were not perfect, the relationship with that student was something I wouldn't trade for anything, because it caused an attitude change in the class. Yeah, he still had problems with listening at the end. We were still working on that. And yeah, he still had problems sometimes following the rules. But he respected me, and he wanted to do his best for me. And that came with the relationship we had through this plan. And that's something that I wouldn't trade for anything. As far as the classroom management system goes, I learned a lot. I learned that allowing the students to be accountable is great, but sometimes the laps don't work. And when they don't work, my CE didn't really have anything else put into place. And we had conversations a lot, what else can I do? What can I do? And she would say, well, contact the parents. So we would do that, and sometimes that wouldn't work. I'm like, okay, well, what can I do now? And she would say, well, a behavior referral. But at the school, a behavior referral was writing their name down on a clipboard. And to me, a kid is going to say, hey, I can do this, and nothing really, really bad's going to happen. And I learned that while for most of her students this classroom management system worked, for maybe one or two, they struggled. And it was because by the end of the third quarter, which was when I was giving release of my duties, they learned. They learned they can get away with things. And that's something that you can definitely learn from it. And I think maybe just switching up something halfway through the year, or even in the third quarter, fourth quarter, would be helpful with classroom management. This student specifically, I learned a lot about him. I learned culturally where he was from. I learned what kind of things were different where he was in relation to where we are. I learned why he did certain things, and I learned that he really wasn't doing things to be disobedient or to be a problem. He was doing them because he, A, either thought they were right, or B, didn't realize what he was doing was wrong. And once he was explained those expectations, things really did change. And so I learned a lot about him through this process, and it was really cool to see him grow through it. Regarding the classroom management in the future, I would probably have something a little different put into place. I've done lots of research on different classroom management strategies. There are a few that I love, and there are a few that I'm like, oh, I probably would never use that. And I just want to try them all out. Things, though, that would take starting them at the beginning of the year. A classroom economy is one thing that I would love to try out, or a brownie point system, or something where the kids are responsible and accountable still, but is a good positive and negative reinforcer. And I could tell you all about that, but really that's something I just want to try. I want to try something different, something that not only is a behavior management system, but that teaches students something. With a classroom economy, it's something where you can find students and you can make them pay rent, and you can give them money based on whether or not they're doing their homework, and they have to keep track of this money, and they have to keep track of what they need to spend on rent and all of this. And not only is that a great classroom management system, but it teaches them so much about the economy and about budgeting, and it's just a great life lesson. And so things like that are things that I want to try in my classroom. But there are things that would take a really long time to implement, and with the 10 weeks of student teaching, it was just very difficult to do that and to convince my CE to do that. So that's probably some of the things that I would change. I would have something put into place overall instead of just a warning and then lapse and then parent contact. I think I would have something else put into place in addition to a warning and all of that. Overall, though, the experience was great, and I loved working with this student. It was a really cool way to find out new things about him, to find out new behavior management systems, and to find out things that might work and things that might not. So it was a great experience overall.